In 1603, James VI of Scotland became James I of Great Britain, uniting Scotland and England under one monarch. This was an era of great social, economic, and political development for England. Despite England's unsuccessful exploration efforts in the 1500s, changes such as the Protestant Reformation, the defeat of the Spanish Armada, and the improving English economy put England firmly in position to colonize America in the early 1600s. In 1606, King James I granted a charter to colonize Virginia, the entire area claimed by England in the New World, to a joint stock company called the Virginia Company of London. Joint stock companies allowed several investors to pool their capital and share the risks and profits, becoming the predecessor of the modern corporation. The charter revealed that the primary motivation for colonization was to find gold. England was also interested in finding a sea passage through the New World to Asia and the Indies, establishing colonies and outposts to demonstrate English power and influence, and spreading Christianity and a European definition of civilization to the native people. In late 1606, the Virginia Company set sail with about 100 male settlers aboard. On May 24, 1607, 3 ships landed near the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay area on the banks of the James River. Here they founded Jamestown, the first permanent English colony in the New World. The settlers wanted to transplant their way of life as much as possible, which made the early years of Jamestown difficult for the colonists. The land was hot, humid, and mosquito-infested, and the settlers were mostly aristocrats and artisans who didn't know how to farm, fish, or hunt. Instead, they spent much of their time searching for non-existent gold. Many of the settlers who did not die on the trip to the New World died once they arrived from disease, malnutrition, and starvation.
Shortly after, Captain Gosnold fell sick, and within 3 weeks died, Captain Radcliffe being then also very sick and weak, and myself having also tasted of the extremity thereof, but by God's assistance being well recovered. Captain John Smith, 1608.
The Powhatan leader for numerous Algonquian-speaking Indian tribes in the region patiently observed and cautiously assisted the colonists. If it wasn't for the help of the Indians, the entire colony might have been lost.
Our provision now being within 20 days spent, the Indians brought us great store, both of corn and bread ready-made, and also there came such abundance of fowls into the rivers as greatly refreshed our weak estates, whereupon many of our weak men were presently able to go abroad.
The directors of the Virginia Company of London failed to provide the colony with effective guidance, and they continued to struggle.
At this time were most of our chiefest men either sick or discontented, the rest being in such despair as they would rather starve and rot with idleness than be persuaded to do anything for their own relief without constraint.
Captain John Smith provided much-needed leadership to the Jamestown settlers. Smith implemented a rule that he that will not work shall not eat. Despite the Indians' help and Smith's leadership, the colony was failing. The winter of 1609 to 1610 was called the starving time, when most of the settlers died of hunger and pestilence, leaving alive only 60 of the 400 who had come to Virginia by 1609. When spring arrived, the remaining colonists decided to head home to England. As they made their way down the James River, they were met by a new governor, Lord Delaware, who sent them back to Jamestown. As the hardships continued for the Jamestown colonists, cultural clashes with the Indians surfaced. The clashes turned to war when Delaware's troops raided Indian villages and took what they wanted. In 1614, a peace settlement ended the First Anglo-Powhatan War and was sealed with the marriage between a settler named John Rolfe and Pocahontas. However, the treaty with the Indians is not what saved the settlers. Rather, it was John Rolfe's realization that tobacco grown in the colonies could be sold profitably in England. This was a turning point for Jamestown. John Rolfe imported tobacco seeds that were much smoother and milder than the local tobacco, making it much more suitable for the English market. By 1616, tobacco had become Jamestown's principal export and finally put the colony on firm economic ground. In 1624, King James had appointed a commission to investigate the London Company and their management of Jamestown. The committee recommended the court dissolve the company, so the king revoked the charter, making Virginia a royal colony directly under his control.